The second thing, my next point, is if we're suffering from information overload, then that means that our behavior is not changing. The information is not impactful. It's not changing our behavior. It's the same information that was given to the Sahaba, and look at what that blueprint produced. And then the same information is, flourishing in our communities, but look at what it's producing. What it's producing. Egotistic, self-aggrandizing, arrogant, egotistical individuals. That's what information in our community is producing. It's not producing humility, compassion, mercy, insight, foresight, leadership. It's not producing any of that. If so, then correct me, please. I would love to see where the information is producing this type of atmosphere, this type of environment. If our behavior is not changing, then that means that either the information is not effective, or it's not being taught for the purposes of character refinement, or we are just inherently rebellious, evil individuals like Bani Israel, who no matter what Musa did to point them in the right direction, they always found a way to circumvent being obedient to Allah. And I don't believe that we are just inherently evil and unteachable as Muslims. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that we are just inherently evil, unteachable, rebellious Muslims. I don't believe that. Not for 1 minute. I don't. Number two, I don't believe that the information is ineffective. Which only leaves me with the third point, and that is that the information that is being given to the community is not being given to the community for the purposes of character refinement. The religion of Islam is a religion that puts emphasis on good character. And we see Muslims that are sometimes worse than non-Muslims. Wallah al-Azim, when I'm out in public, and the unfortunate thing about me is that sometimes Muslims see me, I don't know who they are, I don't have a clue who they are, but they can see me from a mile away, and they've already decided how they're going to interact with me, my family, whatever. I see Muslims, they walk right past me, they don't give me the salams, nothing, in public. Here I might have a non-Muslim see me, hey, how you doing? Mr. Muhammad, blah, blah, blah. And then Muslim walk right past you. Don't even give you salams, nothing. It's like, the non-Muslim's like, isn't that your Muslim brother? It's like, yeah, you can't explain it. You can't explain it. I mean, like, how do you even put a spin on that? But this is what we do. Meanwhile, we got all this information floating around in our heads about what the Prophet did and what the Prophet ﷺ said and what the Quran says. We can run the whole thing down to you. But the information that we hold was given to us not for the purposes of character reformation. It was given to us just as information. That's it. It's just information. Not for the purpose of changing our behavior, refining our character. That wasn't what it was given for. And it's not just Salafis. I ain't even just talking about, so I'm talking about Muslims in general. Muslims in general, we have horrible character. Horrible. Online, in public, horrible character. And here, the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمِ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I have only been sent to perfect moral character. I have only been sent to perfect moral character. And he phrased his words in a way where it makes it seem as if his only objective as a messenger was to perfect moral character. And we know that his mission, exceeded much more than that. However, he wanted to put emphasis on the importance of good character. The Prophet ﷺ, pay attention to this hadith because we make a lot of mistakes with this hadith. Pay attention. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Man ja'akum man taradawna dinahu wa khuluquhu fazawwiju." That when a man comes to you and you are pleased with his deen and his character. Notice the distinction between the two. And keep in mind, deen is a part of, character is a part of deen, but the Prophet ﷺ made it clear here to make a distinction between the two. He said, if there comes to you a man who you are pleased with his deen and his character, showing you that deen and character, although one, but they are two distinct elements. Two distinct elements. Deen and character. He said, if a man comes to you and you are pleased with his deen and his character, then marry him. Marry him. So now I want you guys to critically think, because that is what a teacher does. Forces you to step outside of your comfort zone of just accepting information blindly, and forces you to critically analyze the information that is in front of you. Why did he separate the two? What was the hikmah? What was the wisdom behind separating the two? He said, if there comes to you a man who you are pleased with his deen and his character. Character, shaitani. Character, something different from deen. Deen here, the practice, the rituals of Islam. You pray, you fast, you do the rituals. But that does not indicate that you are a good Muslim. And this is where we make our mistake. The Prophet ﷺ, pay attention here. The Prophet ﷺ, he separated deen from character, placing emphasis on one's behavior while distinguishing it from the ritualistic practices that don't necessarily define the goodness of a person's character. Just because you pray, you fast, that doesn't mean that you are a good Muslim. You understand? And this will help to explain the mistakes that we make during the premarital process, looking for somebody that prays. In fact, I just want a brother who prays. I want a sister who wears hijab. I want a brother who cover. I want a brother who prays. I had one sister said she wanted to marry a brother who wore thobe. I don't want no brother who wear kuffar clothes. I'm just, one of my eyebrows just goes up like, huh? You don't want a brother who wear kuffar clothes? What does that even mean? Please explain that. I'm interested in understanding what that means. And then when you say that, it's like, come on, brother, you know what I'm talking about. Nah, I don't know what you're talking about, because you are something totally different. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't ever force me to align myself with your thinking, because we come from two different walks of life. I'm sorry. I have no idea what in the world you're talking about. What do you mean when you say kuffar clothes? I don't want to marry a man who wear kuffar clothes. My husband got to wear thobe. I'm like, how detached are you from reality? I'm just really trying to process this. Well, I tell you, ask me no questions. I tell you no lies. This real talk. Real conversation that I had with a sister who said she did not. I said, let me ask you a question. I said, even if the brother has a good job, is a good husband, good father to the children, you still not going to marry him solely based upon how he dresses? So I don't want no brother wearing no kuffar clothes around my kids. And I'm just like, wow. I'm like, sis, I can't help you. You might want to go somewhere else and find you a husband that don't wear kuffar clothes. I don't even know what that means, honestly. I don't even know what that means. I mean, don't undermine that, because that comes from a mentality. That comes from a mentality. You got to understand the root of that dysfunction. And that's what we're here talking about. We're trying to get to the root of a lot of this dysfunction. You know what I mean? But when we say, oh, that's crazy, or she's nuts, blah, 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 that's dismissive, because now you can't get to the root of where that stuff comes from. Don't judge her. It's not her fault. She didn't become a Muslim and automatically adopt that ideology. That was something that was force-fed to her. You understand? That was something that was force-fed to her, and she accepted it, adopted that ideology for whatever reason. So what I'm trying to help us to do is to get to the root of a lot of this dysfunction and where it comes from. But we're constantly looking for people who pray and fast because we use that as the gauge to discern or to determine whether or not the person is a good Muslim. And the fact of the matter is that khuluq, character, is what defines you as being a good Muslim. What is your character like? What is your behavior with the world around you? What is your behavior with the world around you? Anybody can do, even the hypocrites in Medina did the rituals of Islam. To the point where the Prophet ﷺ said that as long as they pray, we consider them a Muslim. Al-ahdu alladhi baynana wa baynahum as-salah. That the contract between us and them, meaning as long as they pray, I will treat them as a Muslim, even though he knew that they were not Muslims. Even though he knew that they were not Muslims, they were clear hypocrites. But he said, as long as they pray, they establish the salat, I will treat them like a Muslim. So just because a person prays and fasts, that doesn't solidify that they are a good Muslim. That doesn't solidify that. What solidifies you being a good Muslim is that you have good character. Your behavior, your character is aligned with the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the believer in his book and what was demonstrated in the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I mean, there's no other way to spell that out. Just because a person prays and fasts, that doesn't make them a good Muslim. That makes you a practicing Muslim. You are a ritual Muslim. You do the rituals. I get it. But then when you get into an argument, you all type of mother effers and you all types of bitchs. Ask the sisters right here that's on here, how many of them have been called a bitch by a man who prays 5 times a day? Ask how many sisters who have been punched in their face. We're just dealing with a situation of a brother who killed his stepson. Brutally murdered him. And this was a guy who prayed 5 times a day. Like, that doesn't make you understand? Your character. Your character. A man who murdered Ali bin Abi Talib radiallahu ta'ala anhu was a man who was half of the Quran. Memorized the entire Quran. Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu sent him to Egypt to go teach the people in Egypt the Quran. And this same man who memorized the entire Quran decapitated Ali bin Abi Talib radiallahu ta'ala anhu. You understand? This is a Hafiz Quran, but the Prophet ﷺ mentioned about them that the Quran would not go past their tongues. It's only on your tongue. How many brothers who, lead the salat in the masjid, man? I know situations where a brother done pulled the gun out on another brother in the masjid over who's going to lead each other in the salat. You understand? This happened in Baltimore. Baltimore, Maryland. Dudes getting ready to get in the shootout in the masjid over who going to lead who in the salat. I know another situation similar to that happened in New York years ago, where a brother pistol whipped another brother in the masjid over who was going to lead the salat. You understand? Facts. I'm not telling you no lies. Those who know, know. Those who know, know. Pistol whip a brother in the masjid because they got into an argument over who's going to lead the salah. You understand? That's the mentality that I'm talking about. Information overload with no practical implementation whatsoever. The Prophet ﷺ said that whoever comes to you and you're pleased with his deen and his character, then marry him. Not just because he prays. Not just because he fasts on Mondays and Thursdays. Good for you. Kudos. Good for you. You fast, mashallah. You pray, mashallah. But that's not enough for me. Your character. I need a character reference. Who can reference your character? Who is a person, a reputable person that can vouch for your character. And for those of you who are on Facebook Live, the camera goes the opposite way. So this looks like my left hand to you. This is my right hand. For the umpteenth time, I am right-handed. I am right-handed. So drinking with my right is natural. That means that I have to consciously make a decision to drink with my left hand. I actually have to think about it to drink with my left hand. Drinking with my right hand is naturally because I'm right-handed. I don't even have to think about it. And just so you always know, I always wear my watch on my left hand. I never wear my watch on my right hand. All right? So please stop with the, oh, he's drinking with his left hand. Even if I drank with my left hand by mistake, would that invalidate everything that I'm saying? Here again, the biases. You guys listen with a bias. So you look for any little mistake to say, see, oh, he's drinking with his left hand. MashaAllah. Tabarakallah. Okay. So I'm just saying that for the disclaimer, because I know there's about to be a comment. Oh, he's drinking with his left hand. Okay, cool. Anyway, moving right along. But you guys understand, the Prophet ﷺ, he separated deen from character. You understand? The Prophet ﷺ, he said, مَا مِنْ شَيْءٍ يُوضَعُ في الميزان في ميزان المؤمن يوم القيامة أثقل من حسن الخلق وإن صاحب الحسن الخلق لا يبلغ به درجة الصائم القائم وإن الله جل وعلا لا يبغض الفاحش البذيء. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, talking about the good character, which we kind of like just kind of dismiss as if it's something that is not important. He said, there is nothing, ma min shay'in, there is nothing, yuda'u fi mizan al-mu'min yawm al-qiyamah, that can be placed in the scale of the believer on the day of judgment, afqalu min husn al-khuluq, that will be heavier in his scales than good character. Nothing. There is nothing that would be heavier in the scales of the believer on the day of judgment than good character. Good character. He said, and indeed the person in the sahib khuluq al-hasan, indeed the person with good character can reach the level, because of his good character, of someone who stands all night to pray and fasts all day. Here again, the rituals that the person that has good character, through his good character, can reach the same levels of the person who fasts and prays, because they're just doing rituals, but you can exceed them, you can supersede them with your good character, because it's heavier in the scale. Meanwhile, good character, is nothing, of no consequence in our communities. We don't care what your character is. We want to know how much you know about the deen. If you can spit out some phrases, some words, and it sounds like you're intelligent, it sounds like you got the deen under control, mashallah. In our eyes, you are raised in extra status. However, the person over here with good character, like they're nothing in our eyes. He said, well, indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inna Allah la yubghid al-fahish al-badi. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates the fahish, the indignant, and the imprudent. So this whole idea of using profanity and speaking to people in disrespectful ways and calling people out of their names, and you are deviant, and you this, and you're that, and you're astray, and like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates you. He hates that behavior. I shouldn't say he hates you, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates that behavior. Inna Allah la yubghid al-fahish al-badi. Allah hates, he abhors imprudence and disrespect and indignant behavior. And we see it every day. More so when we interact with Muslims than anybody else. And we'll use a distraction. As the brother said, we'll say, good character, that's the behavior of Ahlul Bid'ah. That's a distraction. And I'm going to get to that. That's a distraction. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates imprudence and indignant behavior. And we got a ton of it. Sister can have hijab on, niqab on. She'll call you all types of mother effers and call you all out your name. And I mean, like, literally. Literally. With no care or concern, flip the niqab back down and walk on about her business like she ain't do nothing wrong. MashaAllah. Meanwhile, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates you.